Yeah, that is so good. And that's all it is. There's no flour in there, so you don't get the doughiness. It's just crispy. Wow. Yum. I'm Brent Peterson. This is Destination Eat Drink, the travel channel for foodies. And today we are in Beja, Portugal. For those of you who are new to the channel, I'm an American living in Portugal, and we're visiting Beja today and doing a pastry crawl. This place is famous for a lot of different kinds of pastries, and we're gonna try several of them today. See how many I can get through. So this place is called Pasteleria Bambina, the baby bakery. And let me tell you what I got, because it's quite extraordinary. This is called a Bambina Mariana. And what it looks like is an almond-covered torte with egg custard on the top. Wow. Okay. There is almond paste in this cookie as well. Slivered almonds on top, powdered sugar on top. That is fantastic. Of course, I got my abatinado. Clear the palate for round two. This is called a Bambina, which, you know, it's named after the place, so it must be good. Oh, see, this is so soft and moist. Look at that. Oh, man. That's the same base as this. This is even softer. I don't know which one I like better. I like them both. So we're going to eat them both. I was talking to the guy who works here. He said, or at least what I understood of what he said, because he doesn't speak English, made fun of us for not speaking Portuguese, as we deserve. But what I took away from my limited Portuguese is he was saying, there's a lot of pastelerias, a lot of bakeries here in Beja who all make the same thing. He makes specialties right here that you can't find anywhere else. And he said, these are two of them that you can only find here. This place is so characteristic and so cool and so old school. They've got liquor up here too. If I wanted, I could have got a shot with mine. Fantastic place. I love it here, and we'll definitely be coming back sometime. So good. We're at Casa de Chá in Beja. This translates to House of Tea, which is kind of unusual for such a coffee-centered country as Portugal, that they would have a tea house, but they got tea, so we ordered tea instead of morning coffee. It's a nice green tea. I've been on the hunt for something called Azevias here in Beja. I hear it's a traditional, typical pastry of this city, and hasn't been real easy to find it. I got something that's almost exactly an Azevias. So what is an Azevias? So you get a round piece of dough, you fill it with chickpea puree, then you fold it over, crimp the edges, and deep fry it. That's Azevias. This is exactly the same thing, except instead of deep fried, it was baked in the oven. Slightly healthier, I guess, and then topped with sugar. So let's give this a try. See how it is. So by baking that, it's more light and fluffy. And that chickpea filling, if you expect it to taste like hummus or savory, no. There's obviously no garlic or salt in there. It's just sweetened chickpeas, which is kind of an unusual take, but I like it. Wow, that's really tasty. The other thing that I've been looking for, which is a little easier to find, this is going to be hard to break in half, so I'm just going to take a bite out of it, is Tosquiados. I'm butchering that name, but anyway, I know what it is. Egg whites and almonds, and that's all it is. There's no flour in there, so you don't get the doughiness. It's just crispy. Wow. That is a really nice change of pace from all the custard tarts that you get here in Portugal. This is really tasty. I like this a lot. So good. So they have a whole tea menu at Casa de Chá. I mean, they must have had 3 dozen different kinds of teas that you could get. I got a simple green tea. Karen got a green tea with a little hint of floral in it. And I gotta say, that's really nice. That adds a little something to it. Really good. I wonder how it would be just a quick little. All right. That's nice too. So, House of Chá, big thumbs up on that. The search for more pastry continues in Beja. We're at Pasteleria Santo Andre in Beja, and we were walking up here, and I spotted a church, I don't know, a block away. So we went there first to check it out. Turns out it's not a church at all, although it was at some point a church for St. Anthony. Instead, it's the Social Security office for Beja. What happened was, about 200 years ago, there was a war in Portugal, and a lot of the monasteries and convents were abolished in the country, and many of them were left vacant. They were taken over by the government and left vacant, and ultimately some of them were returned as churches. Think of the huge Geronimo's church in Belém in Lisbon, but many of the others never became churches again. They became public offices, things like libraries and Social Security office, government buildings. Others became offices for the GNR, the National Guard. So things like that. So you often see that here in Portugal, things that were churches at one point. The other thing is, right across the street there looked to be a much older church, just like a single building, a single nave church. And I walked over there. There is no label on it. It's completely closed up, except on the back, there's a little attached house. I call it a house. It's a tiny little place. Somebody's living back there. I looked on Google Maps. There is nothing listed as far as what it is, what it used to be. Walked around the church. There's no plaque or anything. So I have no idea. Maybe that's the original St. Anthony Church, but I'm strictly speculating at this point. But it's definitely older than the St. Anthony Church that's now the Social Security office. So there you go. So we came back here to St. Andre Pasteleria, and we were talking to the owner, George, and his wife, and he doesn't speak much English, and we barely got by with our combination of our limited Portuguese and his limited English. And we got this little treat, which is called, he wrote it down for me, so nice, tijanada. Tijanada. He pronounced it tijanada. And what it is egg custard with sugar in a little flour crust. I've never seen this before. It's similar, I mean, as far as the ingredients go, it's similar to like a pastel de nata, but as you can see, it looks quite different from a pastel de nata. Looks more like, I don't know, like an omelet or something. But we'll give it a try, a frittata maybe. So, maybe halfway between a pastel de nata and a frittata, because it's eggy and it's higher, but it's not as custardy as a pastel de nata. There's not as much sugar. There is sugar in there. I don't detect any vanilla or anything like that, like you'll get in a pastel de nata, and you're certainly not putting cinnamon on top of that. Maybe some people do. But then it's sweeter than a frittata. Not as eggy. So anyway, something completely different. I've never heard of it before we stepped in here. I've certainly never had it before. But it's a very nice little treat. Got nabadanado. This place is outside the city walls, and this neighborhood almost seems like a world away from Beja. It's definitely just populated with locals. Seems like all of Beja is, for that matter. But you know, a lot less English spoken out here, and you know, it's its own neighborhood. So this was worthy of a trip. Glad we made it out here today to try this brand new treat that we've never had before. So cheers to Karen for picking out this place today. Behind me is a sculpture by Bordello II. He's a famous street artist here in Portugal. I'll talk about him in a minute, but we're right next door to an archaeological museum of Roman ruins, and it's free to get in. A lot of these museums and churches are free to get in, which is kind of refreshing. You go into Lisbon, it seems like you're paying to go into everything. But it's free. This is an archaeological site from the Roman era. The Romans were here starting, I don't know, maybe 5th century BC, and they ruled this area for nearly 1,000 years. So they were here a long, long time. And they started digging up these artifacts, and you walk in there and you can see what part of a Roman city looked like. It looked like there were wells in there and remains of walls and, you know, plenty of ceramics and other fragments. And the highlight is a iron cast bull that they think is from the 5th or 6th century BC. So if you date that, maybe that's from the very beginning of Roman times, or maybe the very end of Phoenician times, or maybe there were other people who were in charge here. It's hard to figure out exactly where and when that bull came from, but it's pretty magnificent to see something that's over 2,500 years old, and this is definitely a place that's worth your visit. Let me talk about Bordello. He is perhaps the most famous street artist in all of Portugal, and I first became familiar with him when we saw the Iberian lynx exhibit that he did. It must be, I don't know, bigger than, maybe about the same size as this, 20, 25 feet tall, freestanding structure in the Park of the Nations in Lisbon near the Orient Station. And what makes this guy so unique is he does all of these sculptures out of recycled materials. If you go up and take a close look, you'll see like springs and looks like fiberglass bumpers of cars and bits of plastic and steel. And Bordello is making a activist comment about overconsumption in our society. So he recycles all of this garbage and creates these beautiful sculptures. There's one here in Beja. There's several in Lisbon. There's one in Coimbra. They're all over. He's done, in the last 10 years, hundreds and hundreds of these things. Guy's only in his mid-30s, and he's done hundreds and hundreds of these absolutely stunning sculptures. So I really like him, and I try to seek out his sculptures whenever we go to a new place, because they're hiding in plain sight. We walked by this sculpture probably 3 or 4 times before I even noticed it. So there's a lesson. Don't always keep your head down when you're going somewhere. Keep your head up and look out for stuff. And you never know, you might run into a Bordello Segundo original. We're at the granddaddy of pastelerias in Beja, Luis de Rocha Pasteleria. This place has been around for over 130 years. Incredible. And it's usually packed. We happen to come here during a lull, so you can actually hear me talking. Last time we were here, it was so loud, and every table was taken. It was crazy. So this is a very popular place. And one of the things that it's best known for is the little pig cake. Now, don't worry, it's not made out of pigs. It's just shaped like a pig. In fact, I saw one in the case that's a mother pig suckling her, with her baby suckling on her. That's what it looks like. But the cake is like this big, so couldn't get that. It's way too much. So instead, I got a couple other sweet treats. This one is called Figa, and you can see why. It's shaped like a fig. It even has the little lines on the top, just like a fig, but it's not made out of fig. It's made out of chocolate, and it is so incredibly good. Oh my God. Sugar, chocolate, pastry. Can't go wrong. And then this just looked interesting. It's almost shaped like a pear or a teardrop. I can't remember the name of it. I tried to spell it out on my phone before we started rolling. Couldn't find it either. The guy who brought it to us, he told me the name of it. I don't know what it is, but it looked interesting. And I think this is egg. Oh. So that's like an egg custard with orange in it. Man, that is so tasty, and it's so moist. Look at that. Just, I mean, oh, that is amazing. So good. You can see why this place has been around for 130 years, man. I mean, they know what they're doing. Everything is so, so good. Maybe next time we bring 6 or 8 friends here and we'll get the little pig cake. But this is a definite must go to. Well, that's about it for this video about pastries in Beja. And it's just great when you come to these towns in Portugal. You can always be sure, no matter where you go, they're going to have an authentic, characteristic pastry from either that town or that region. We did a whole pastry crawl in Évora, which is not far from here. And they had, I don't know, maybe a dozen different sweets that were made in the convents in that area. And a lot of these sweets here got their start in convents as well. So if you want to see that video, that's pretty interesting if you like sweets. I've also done a couple about the best pastel de natas in Lisbon. So that's always good when you're coming to Portugal, knowing where to go to get pastel de nata. And if you like food and travel and this kind of stuff, maybe you want to support me. You can go to buymeacoffee.com/destination-eat-drink. Nice thing about that is you can decide how much you want to contribute. As little as $1, or like Marco, you can donate $50. We appreciate that. Thanks, Marco. And also go to destinationeatdrink.com. I've got my blog there. All my videos are listed under the video tab. And I also have links to my podcast. I've done like 300 episodes almost of that podcast. So you can find out about food and drink and travel to places all over the world there. It's all at destinationeatdrink.com. Thanks for watching so much. Appreciate you, and see you down the road. Yum.
Beja, né?